Hi, this is Cheryl Smith, and today we're going to be working on the whitewash technique, and we're going to be using the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. It's so big, it comes in two parts, has a great flower, a nice bud of a flower, and some wonderful sayings. Set those aside. We're also going to be using this special celebration stamp set, the happy birthday, and then the saying that goes with it. This card was a take on Linda Dowkey. She's a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. Made this gorgeous card, and of course I had to try it right away. Mine uses the Highland Heather ink on the Magnolia and then the Mint Macaron ink on the leaves. And let's get started to show you how we made this card. I've already embossed the gold Magnolia on the crumb cake, but we need to go ahead and add the saying, and we're going to do that right down here at the bottom. We're going to grab our embossing buddy. If you don't have an embossing buddy, they come in really handy. They keep static and the oils on your hands from attracting the embossing powder and keeping it from sticking on your project. So we're just going to stamp that right down here. Now I keep my embossing powder in these little containers and they're labeled. And the easiest way to do that is to just pour it right on top. And then I'll just sift it around, hoping that it sticks everywhere that it's supposed to. And if you do have a few stray pieces and they don't tap off easily, you can use a brush like this one or an X-Acto knife to get the powder off the places that you don't want it. So if there are any stray powder pieces, just put them right back into your container. And yeah, you should always put the lid back on these so that you don't accidentally use your heat tool and blow them all over the place. All right, this is the Stampin' Up! Heat tool. It has a low setting, the number 1, and that's the drying one we're going to use in a little bit. And then the number 2 is the heat. Give it a few seconds to heat up. You want it as hot as it can be before you start. You don't want to blow off any stray pieces. And if you watch, it's going to turn from granular to shiny. So when you look at your project and you see it still has a granular look, you need to keep embossing. Maybe check and make sure you don't have it on the first setting. There we go. See how it turned all nice and shiny? Now that we've got all our embossing finished, let's go ahead and get started on the whitewash. We're going to take one of our acrylic blocks and just get some white ink on there. This is an aqua painter. It has water in the barrel, and you can untwist this and add some more water, or some people also use rubbing alcohol in theirs when they're doing different projects. Get a little water dripping on there and stir that up a little bit. You don't want just straight ink. It needs to be nice and wet. All right, there you go. So now we're just going to color this in and do my best to stay in the lines. Sometimes that can be a little bit hard. And you're just going to very quickly color this in. And if you use up all the ink on your block, you can just dab it back into your craft ink pad. And I'm just coloring right over the top of the embossing. And if you don't have enough white on there, you can come back in and add some more. There we go, just like that. All right, so we have all the Magnolia, and I'm just going to color in one of the leaves in the interest of time. There we go. little more white. All right, so this is still a little damp, and we do not want to use our ink on them when it's still damp. So we're going to take our embossing tool, put it on the first setting, which is just the drying setting, and we'll go ahead and run that right over the top. A little bit more. I didn't make it too damp. It's not wet on the back side. So once you have it all dry, you're going to use a sponge dauber and whatever color of ink you prefer. Experiment with this and try it at home. Use different colors of ink. All right. So we are going to use the Highland Heather. Whoops. We'll lay that right up here, and then this is our sponge daubers, and they fit right on your finger. So we're just going to dab that here. I like to start out by just softly swirling it in the middle. I'd rather add just a little bit of ink and then go back and add more if I need it. Always take your finger from the center out towards the edges, and that'll help prevent that round circular shape that you might get if you just did this. So again, just brush up very gently, and you can add as much or as little of the Highland Heather as you like. We're just going to add a little bit more. There we go. I'll set that aside, and now let's get the mint macaron. And again, just dab that right in there and gently brush. Now, if you want to color all of this in and you don't want any ink straying from the edge of the leaf, just use a mask. And what I did was I embossed the Magnolia, and then I cut it out and I saved this piece, and it works great for a mask. You could use this for any coloring that you're doing to make sure that it doesn't stray outside the lines. Now the sample card that I did, we didn't use the mask. I wanted that to have those blurred edges, and I just also ran the sponge dauber along the edge. And after I did that, I took my fingernail and just roughed it up just a little bit and made it look distressed. And that is easier to do after you've already attached your cardstock down on your matted layers, because that gives it something to hold on to while you're pressing your fingernail on the edge. All right, so that's just the basic technique on this card. Again, use the mask if you need it. If you don't use the mask, you get these lovely edges. Now, what I want you to do is try this at home if you have the Craft White ink pad, and post your samples. I want to see what you guys are doing. Hopefully you're trying these techniques at home and enjoying them as much as I am. Happy stamping!